Okay, I'm going to brag a little bit, if that's okay, and then I'm going to follow up with
Texas, for God's sake. We expect it.
But then I'll follow up with a loaded question, of course, because it's Texas, you know. But I'm so excited to be here today, and it's really because I feel like I came with the biggest family that I don't know, and that's the veterans. So right? And I am a proud United States Air Force veteran from Dallas, Texas. And I'm very honored to be here today and pose this question to you on behalf of my people. All right, so with over 1.5 million veterans living in Texas, we are not a monolith, and I believe that has been made very clear by the eclectic representation that we have here today, to put it nicely. But we're obviously very concerned about the cuts at the VA and their potential impact on the veterans' health care. But more than just that, we're more than just veterans. We are the community. We're union members. I'm on a union meeting call right now. So we're union members, we're women, we're non-binary, we're federal employees, we have disabilities, we are caretakers for those with disabilities, and we are a part of the LGBTQ plus community. Hell yeah. And all of that while living in marginalized communities ourselves. So here's the question. How do you believe that we can build our multifaceted identity into a cohesive and effective opposition movement against the current administration and their attacks?
Yeah, no, for sure. Well, thank you. Beto, you can join in on this. We've got a lot of commonality here. I was very proud. We both served on that House Veterans Affairs Committee. I had the opportunity and the honor of serving as the ranking member. And I think Beto would say at the time we were there, it was incredibly bipartisan, too, on working together, that there was that commitment. Now, look, anybody in elected office, and I watch these folks, they all tell you how much they love veterans. Well, talk is cheap. And if you're not following through, and what we're witnessing right now is I would like to tell you it's surprising, but it's not, because the goal for a long time amongst this segment of folks is to privatize the VA healthcare system. And it's for several, and I tell you this, I represent the state that's ranked first in healthcare. I'm home to the Mayo Clinic. We're proud of that. We're proud of that. But the Mayo Clinic will tell you the best healthcare system in the country is the VA system. It trains over 80% of our physicians. Now, their attempt to go at that when they fire the 83% that are at the VA, many of those veterans themselves, the purpose of this is to try and transfer that money into the private sector. They've been trying, continuing to do it. Veterans don't want that. And they will come to you and tell you this, well, the VA is not really efficient. You know, in the private sector, they bill you and the doctor sees you for 15-minute increments. You know when you go see your doctor and they're kicking you out the door as quickly as possible? We actually were in a hearing where one of our colleagues said, did you know some VA doctors are spending up to 40 minutes with their patients? Yeah, that's what we want. That's what we want. And when we started pushing back on that, they caved and we were able to get the funding we needed. And the reason for it is they know that the American people stand firmly with our veterans. They stand firmly with them. So I've always said, and in Minnesota, I'm proud of this, we're going to become the 5th state that eliminates veterans homelessness. We have 218 veterans still to house, and we'll get that done. But the lessons we learned there in talking about building a broader coalition, you know who's standing with us to make sure we get veterans homelessness completed is the advocates for eliminating childhood homelessness and then families. And I think for many of us, these policies that are good for veterans are good for everyone else. The veterans are incredible messengers for it because we know they gave, but I've said this as a veteran myself. I'm proud of that work, but I'm also proud I spent years in the high school classroom. Nurses are proud they spent time in those emergency rooms. Our skilled trades are proud that they built this country. Our small business owners are. These folks have done a wonderful job to try and segment us. And when you say that, and this warms my heart, I'm a veteran, I'm a labor member, I'm an activist, I'm part of a community. That's all of us. Don't let them take our identity and pigeonhole us because they use it to divide. So speak up. Great answer.
The thing that gets me about veterans like yourself is you served once in uniform. You came back to this community and you served again, day in and day out, though you don't wear the uniform right now, presently. I think about these veterans who came back from Vietnam, a war that this country didn't understand and many people didn't support. They didn't come back to ticker tape parades and a thank you for your service. Sometimes they were literally spat upon. But head down, nose to the grindstone, they got to work, they raised their families, they built up their communities. They made this country the great place that it is today. And what gets me about these Vietnam-era veterans, Tim and I, on that Veteran Affairs Committee, they were first in line to stand up for the Gulf War veterans, the Afghanistan veterans, the Iraq veterans. Yes. They wanted to make sure that what happened to them never happened to another generation again. So President Trump, you are fucking with the wrong group of Americans right now, okay? Amen. Amen. Let's go to, next question is coming from Sammy Frey from Rice University. Yay! Let's go out. All right, do we have Sammy? Okay, hey. They got a mic? We got a mic for him? There we go.
First,
We need the mic on.
hear me?
Or come up here. You can use this one if you want to.
Keep talking to test it.
All right, so my name is Sammy. I'm a student at Rice, and I just wanted to thank you both so much for taking the time to speak with us. It means so much to have both of you stand so firmly in support of democratic values when it seems like kind of the world is crumbling around us. You both are figures of support, and it means more than you'll ever know. So this topic is personal to me. My dad was a federal worker. He worked for the Small Business Administration, and he was one of the many who was laid off by Elon Musk. And before he was laid off, he received a federally sent threatening messages denouncing the use of DEI language and compelling workers to report each other if they found anyone trying to encourage DEI practices. And it hurts my heart, and it hurts everyone around us, because we all know that diversity is what makes America great. So, I know you told me not to ramble, but my question is, how do we speak about and plan for the inclusivity and diversity of opinion that we need to rebuild this country when those terms are being so demonized by the people holding power right now?
Well, Sammy, thank you. And to all the young people who are here, I just pause for a moment and look around and look at, I'm especially talking about these old white guys who seem to disappoint us on a regular basis in this country, but not this group that's here standing with you. Folks that know, as Beto said, those Vietnam veterans, the motto of the damn Vietnam Veterans of America is never again will one generation forget another. And so for all of us to stand up and talk about these issues and to talk to the American public in a way where we let them define the issues. And I watched this happen on the campaign. I thought for sure when Donald Trump was bragging about folks in Springfield eating cats and dogs, that would be the end. It was not. It was not, because we let them define the message. So let's be very clear, segueing from that last question. One of the groups that has benefited greatly by us understanding that diversity, equity, and inclusion and having policies around that were veterans themselves for hiring. Veterans are a part of the group when the federal government hires people based on that. The rest of it is, as we all know, in Minnesota, pretty white, pretty cold, much like you see in the northern hemisphere, in northern states, population going down, 70% of our workforce over the next 20 years is going to come from communities of color. Our very existence depends on diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I'm just going to note this shit show of a text chain that was going on could have used a little diversity, equity, and inclusion in the people who were there. So I think, and I'm going to own this, when we see people back off and we see corporations back off to the threats, instead of leaning into and knowing we're doing this because it's not only morally the right thing to do, it's economically the right thing to do, and our culture proves that our strength is our diversity. We've been talking about this for years as a country of immigrants, and we let them define the issue on immigration. We let them define the issue on DEI, and we let them define what woke is. We got ourselves in this mess because we weren't bold enough to stand up and say, you damn right we're proud of these policies. We're going to put them in, and we're going to execute them. And so they're going to use fear. They're going to do whatever they can. What I would say is, we need to make sure we're highly organized. Let's provide the data. Let's show them where things are at. They're finding out now, Florida kicked everybody out, and now what do they have to do? Weaken their child labor laws so we can put kids to work? That's not who we are. So what I would say to you is, this is about demonizing, and in this moment, and we may pivot to it, I know Texas, it's a hot issue. Immigration's a hot issue on our border too, Canada. We like them. We like them. But if we're afraid to talk about these harder issues, if anyone's finding it hard to find their voice and say what happened to this young woman at Tufts University is absolutely horrific, then we deserve to lose elections. Because if we're not willing to stand up and say, of course we need reforms, of course we need to put things in there, but you can do these things without sacrificing our humanity, without sacrificing understanding where we come from. DEI is the same way.
I love that. Let's have the courage of our convictions. Sammy, that makes us proud. Everything that you share.
strong.
We're sorry about what happened to your dad and to your family. The reason we're here is so that we stop that from happening. A reporter asked me earlier, hey Beto, do you think the Democratic Party tent is big enough for all of these different views and voices? You know, you got people on the far left, you have moderate Democrats. This is my answer. Tell me if you agree. I don't think the test right now is between people on different ends of the political spectrum. The test to define who a Democrat is right now is, are you going to fight or are you going to surrender?
I agree.
Let us be fighters right now. Let us fight. All right. We have Tanya Pettis and her 11-year-old son, Aiden. All right, Tanya Pettis and your 11-year-old son, Aiden.
Aiden, where are you?
I think you got right here. Here you go. Take one up.
Yeah, you got that one. Come on up.
My name is Aiden, and I'm a 6th grader who attends a Title I school. If Trump dismantles the Department of Education, what can I do to protect my right to a good education?
Wonderful. I'm taking this one from you. Thanks, brother. Well, well, Aiden, thank you. Thank you for coming. Thank your parents for bringing you and participating in the democracy. And I'm going to say it to all those public school teachers here. Thank you so much. To the parents of public school teachers, to those of us who went to public schools, look, the public schools are the great American contribution. It's also the great American stepping stone. It's the ladder. And just to be clear, it's happening across the country. It happened to Iowa, which, by the way, we as Minnesotans fight with Iowa a lot. You know, it's one of the things we do. But the one thing, I'll take no slander against Iowa's education system as it used to be, but that is gone now because they have voucherized, they're losing teachers, they're underfunding. Now, what Aiden's asking about is a Title I school. You all know how this is. What we decided was, and look, I'm going to own this. Democrats have done a poor job of telling the American public what the Department of Education actually does. Admit it. All of you are out there, and if you're not in education, you're like, well, I'm kind of wondering it. I know I'm for it. Because they allowed people to say, well, I saw people go on TV, we need to give back control of the curriculum to the states. They already have it. We need to give the power to hire the teachers and their licensure back to the states. Already have it. Well, we need to have the states fund most of it through property taxes in some states. Other states do more with giving it from the state itself, from the general fund. But the real purpose and the great thing the Department of Education did was it ensured that no matter your zip code, your race, your socioeconomic background, wherever you lived in this country, we were going to guarantee you an equal quality education. And just because you're a northern state doesn't mean that you escaped some of this. We all know things like Brown versus Board of Education or troopers escorting Ruby Bridges into the schoolroom is because left to their own devices, states won't give an equal education to every student. And so when they come at Title I, they're going at the schools where people need more. Or they're going, for many of you in here, like my family, my son is protected under IDEA, Individuals with Disability and Education Act, which the new secretary didn't even know what it was. This is the guarantee that no matter what your disability is, we will guarantee you access to that classroom and access to a quality education. Now, for my son, he's got an individual education plan, an IEP, and his teachers get extra help, and the federal government gives extra money to those schools like Title I, so they're able to educate the children. And so now they're telling us, it's okay, the states will handle this. Look, we need to call it what it is. This is a move back to segregating our schools and eliminating some of our kids from the classroom. So the thing we do here is we make damn sure, and we're going to make sure, look, Beto does this, what I love about him, he speaks right from the hip. I do too. Sometimes it gets me into trouble. And somebody said, do you regret? Well, you always regret a few things. What I don't regret is calling Elon Musk a dipshit. I do not regret that. I do not regret that. And this guy, for all of you, how do we make the case for the taxpayers of Texas who sent their money to the Department of Education to make sure we had equal access across this country? How are we not framing this up that Donald Trump is defunding America to give tax cuts to the very people who are cutting these programs? It's that simple. So, Aiden, our commitment's always been there, and I guarantee you, 80 to 85% of the public is 100% with us on this. Every child in America should be guaranteed a quality education. Thank you. Thank you.
Good job, Aiden. And Tim, we want to make sure that we let him know this, and we want to remind everybody here, in addition to these cuts to the Department of Education that Aiden was just talking about, in Texas, the governor has proposed a voucher bill that will drain the already meager resources from our public schools. Our public school educators, Tim, in Texas, odds are, if you're a public school teacher, you're not working one job. You're working 2 jobs, you're working 3 jobs just to make ends meet. After going decades for retired teachers not getting a cost of living adjustment in the state of Texas, and to add insult to injury, they want to take $1 billion of our tax dollars, send them from private schools and taxpayers just like us to private school families who are already sending their kids to these institutions right now. Though the governor would have you believe otherwise, this is not a done deal. Please call your state representative, call your state senator, say no on vouchers in Texas, yes on high-class, world-class public ed in the state of Texas. All right, we're now going to go to Mary Ann Helms, right here in Rosenberg. Right here. I'm going to give you my mic.
I just wanted to thank both of y'all for being here when our congressman is not here, and that means a lot to us to be able to have a voice. My question today is about election integrity. I hope they have seen the reports from cybersecurity experts that they've released analyses of election data out of Clark County, Nevada, that show some pretty convincing evidence of election tampering. My biggest fear is that we're not going to make it to the midterms. So what can we do to make sure, A, that the midterms actually happen, and B, that they're free of fraud?
Yeah.
Thank you for asking.
Well, this one's the core. We saw just recently Donald Trump's executive order to make it more difficult, specifically to women, trying to make it more difficult for women to be able to vote. We see one of the first things they do is try and restrict the vote. This is one of the things, though, that this is going to take power to the streets. I don't know what the answer is on this, but I've been saying this. I think we need a shadow government, so when all these things come up every single day, we've got an alternate press conference telling the truth about what things are happening, hearing what's going on. And on this piece on elections, I'm going to go back to this again about what I think the Democrats have done wrong when they've had power. I think we've been timid. I think we tried to cut deals. Look at Barack Obama came in 2008. He had a 75% approval rating, not 44 like we see now. He had the House, he had the Senate. Well, the Republicans didn't have any charismatic leader to push back. They had John Boehner and Mitch McConnell. And they stopped everything. And they slowed everything down. And they made a difference. And so I think there's a lot of Democrats who are saying, well, when you get power, it doesn't get any better. So I thought we had an opportunity to pass the John Lewis Voting Rights Act when we had that control, and we didn't do it, which we should have done. I thought we should have passed an Employee Free Choice Act to make it easier to form a union when we had the opportunity. But what I learned from that was when we in Minnesota in 2022 got the trifecta for the first time in decades, we had the governor, the House, and the Senate, and we had it by one vote. You know what you call a one-vote majority? A majority. And that's what you do. And so we passed, in Minnesota, we have automatic voter registration for everybody in the state. Starting at 16. 17-year-olds can work as election judges and get into the system to know what they're doing. We restored felon voting rights so everyone could vote. We extended early voting and vote by mail. And we did that not so Democrats could win elections, so that we could honor our Constitution and understanding voting is the heart of what we do. And so we have to get back out again, make the case to the American people that that sacred right of voting, if you're Democrat, Republican, Independent, whatever it is, we need to protect it, starting at the state level, and then make the case when we have power, we should have passed the John Lewis Voting Rights Act so that they couldn't be doing some of this, and that's what we need to do.
Thank you for this question. I'm going to brag on Fort Bend for a second. You know, I mentioned that courthouse in Appomattox and the price that this country paid, the hundreds of thousands of young Americans who gave their lives to defeat the Confederacy, the institution of slavery, to ensure that we actually lived up to our foundational principle, that we're all created equal, and that we will be treated equal under the law. Right here in Fort Bend County, following the Civil War, the first African-American ever elected to the position of sheriff in the United States of America was right here, in this community.
Good story.
Most of the offices of public trust won fairly, democratically, legally by African Americans who for the first time in American history had the opportunity to vie for these positions of power. They did an extraordinary job until the sun set on our democracy. People looked away and then they just completely turned their backs on the South and those who were literally fighting not just for the right to vote and hold office, but for their very lives. You all probably know about the Jaybird War. the Jaybird primary, which was a whites-only primary within the Democratic Party that excluded every African American, that devolved into political violence with assassinations across Fort Bend County in the 1880s. It comes up to the federal government. At that time, the pro-democracy party was the Republicans. To Tim's point, they had the White House, they had the House, they had the Senate. In 1890, they had their version of the John Lewis Voting Rights Act. It passed the House, it gets to the Senate, it is held up on a filibuster. The Republican president decides to make other deals with Southern senators, and they end a multiracial democracy in America that we will not see again until the first president from the state of Texas, Lyndon Baines Johnson, in 1965, signs the Voting Rights Act. So let me bring this full circle. That Voting Rights Act stands the test of time, decade in, decade out. There's a legislator from this community, member of Congress, maybe you've heard of her, Barbara Jordan. She, in the 1970s, reauthorizes the Voting Rights Act to include language minorities. Those U.S. citizens who don't speak English but are picking the food that ends up on your fucking table at night, they should be able to read the ballot and vote and hold office too. And because of her, they did. 1980s, 1990s, 2000s, clear sailing. The arc of justice bends in exactly the way that we want it to. It just happens, right? Progress is inevitable and forever. And then in 2013, in a Supreme Court decision, Shelby versus Holder, the majority, in their infinite wisdom, said, you know what? I guess we don't have a problem with racism in America, or people in political office hoarding power to the detriment of the powerless. So we'll strike down the Voting Rights Act of 1965. Ruth Bader Ginsburg, in her scorching dissent, says, you know what? That's like being in a rainstorm, and that fucking umbrella has kept you dry year after year after year, and so you say, you know what? I'm gonna put it away. Well, folks, we have been soaked every single day since 2013. Texas, the worst voter ID law in the country. Texas closed 700 polling places. Where did they close them? In the fastest growing black and brown neighborhoods in the state of Texas. Texas, 13% rejection on mail-in ballots. You see that in banana republics. You do not see it in modern democracies, but you see it in Texas. So listen. This is the question of the hour, because if we do not save our democracy, and if we do not get one back in the state of Texas, every other thing that we care about becomes impossible. So look, one of the criticisms, one of the digs on our party is, you guys are great at protesting, at marching, at holding rallies, at bringing celebrities out and getting everybody all jazzed. You suck at building political power. Well, let's change that right now, okay? Here's what I'm asking you. I know it's not 2026. I know it's not 2028. I know we don't have candidates on the ballot, but there is work to be done. The folks who are in the high visibility yellow vests are not construction workers, or they may be in their day jobs, but they are powered by people who will sign you up. If you give them your contact info, and in this age of convenience and ease, I promise you, this is going to be hard. If you give them your contact information, they're going to get in touch with you. They're going to train you to become a volunteer deputy registrar, get your certification right here in Fort Bend County. They're going to go with you to the places where unregistered, likely Democrats are, get them on the rolls, stay in touch with them, turn them out so that we can fight back and win that election. We will not win if we begin to work in 2026, That's right. But we will if we do it in March of 2025. You with me? Yeah. Let's do it. Wow. Okay. You all remember that commercial, The Most Interesting Man in the World? It's Beto O'Rourke. It's us. I don't always think that. We gotta know our history. We gotta know where we've come from to know where we're going. I appreciate that. All right, Ryan Rackley from Missouri City, you're up. Okay, here you go. I'm gonna give you my mic. Hi, Ryan.
Thank you so much. Thank y'all for being here and fighting for us. Thank you, Coach Walz. We really appreciate. Texas loves you. Glad you're here. Thank you so much. Thank you. So my question is, we're 3 months into this current administration, and there appears to be a rift amongst congressional Democrats regarding the future and direction of the party. Where do you both see the future of the party in the coming years, and how can we trust current leadership to fight for us like you guys are?
Yeah, good question. I think I'm going with Beto on this. Look, future of the party's right here in a barn on a Thursday. But that's not just hyperbole, and that's not a throwaway line. We're going to have to figure out, why are our policies, when we pull our policies, like paid family medical leave, which, by the way, every other damn country in the world has it, except us. Now 13 states, since Minnesota has it, those policies are super popular. If you went out and polled people in Texas, if they wanted paid family and medical leave, it'll poll 80%. It'll poll 80%. Same thing with, would you like us to make sure that our kids can't get into our unlocked guns and shoot each other? That polls pretty well too, because people like that. But we as a party, as Beto's saying, I'm going to give you my example on this, because look, I own this. My job was to go out there and win 7 swing states, and to get old white men without hair to not be terrible and to do the right thing. And I say this as a school teacher, my teachers here all know this, when you teach a lesson and half the students don't get it, it's not because the students aren't very bright, it's because they may learn differently or you didn't do a good job of teaching it. And I think we get so stuck up on message. We get so stuck, if we just get the right charismatic leader, the next Barack Obama will come along and we'll hire some consultants and we'll have this perfect message for them. They friggin' won by saying people were eating dogs and cats. They won on that, so it wasn't that. But it's this issue that I think Beto's at. Our policies are good for people. We know that we improve people's lives. We're in it for the right reasons. But we're losing these folks, and it's not the 77 million who voted for Donald Trump. I've said this. If you're going to buy 6 flags, stick them on your truck, buy a picture of Donald Trump looking like he's all buffed out, you're going to vote. I knew they were going to vote. What I was worried about is people who thought both parties were the same and that it wouldn't make any difference. And I think the future of our party is what Beto's saying is, when I was growing up, it was clear to me that the Democrats stood with working people. Social Security survivor benefits was there for my mom when she needed it. Public school education, college was affordable. They were there for us. We've got a lot of our neighbors, not bad people. They don't know exactly what we stand for. They don't know if we believe it. And I think Beto's making this point is, let's throw it all out there, fight like hell, and show them that we understand exactly why they're feeling the way they're feeling, exactly why they're so nervous, exactly why it matters to go to the polls, because it'll improve their lives. So I think the future lies with those who are bold. I think the future lies with those who aren't afraid to say, we're not taking your bait on this. I'm not going to fight fights. I'm not going to demonize little kids for who they are just because you don't simply like that. We're going to fight for the things that matter. And I sure the hell would rather go down that way than try and come up with some wonky message that doesn't get there and doesn't improve people's lives. So we got to go bold. Yeah.
I asked you to go back in time with me at the outset, all the way back to last Friday with Pete Hegseth and Donald Trump. Now go with me into the future, generations from today, so our great-great-great-grandkids. And they're reading their history books, if they're still allowed in Texas. Yeah. And they're like, okay, to the teacher, let me get this straight. This guy said he was going to be a dictator on day one. He was lifting lines wholesale from Mein Kampf, saying that immigrants are poisoning the blood of America. He tried to destroy the Constitution. He ignored a co-equal branch of government. He called veterans suckers and losers. He defied a federal judge's order, precipitated a constitutional crisis. What did you guys do? What did the people of America in 2025 do? So the line in the sand, it has been drawn. It is very clear what we're up against. You all are students of history. I mean, go back to the first democracy in the Greek Peninsula 2,500 years ago. Go back to the Roman Republic. Go back to the Weimar Republic in the 1920s and the 1930s. While you're twiddling your thumbs and playing nice and trying to be bipartisan, they are killing their fucking country and taking away their democracy. So we are either going to fight or we are going to surrender, and I plan on fighting.
That's right. That's right.
Let's do it. Amen. All right. We have Carol Roach from Sugarland. Where is Carol? Here comes Carol. Carol is wearing a Harris.
Thank you very much.
All serving.
Thank you so much. I am Carol, and I am the mother of 2 children, amongst many other things. And my youngest actually has Down syndrome, so she's technically disabled. And I have had to educate myself on things like the IEPs that you mentioned earlier. Yeah. We did early childhood intervention to help get her some of her services that she needed. And I am very discouraged by all the attacks on all the services I'm very upset about all the attacks on all the types of departments that offer services to not only disabled children, but also when they're adults, things like Medicaid, Medicare, Social Security, disability,
Yes.
you know, the Department of Education, and making sure that my child will get an equal education to everybody. And so my question is, what do we do now to support those people who may be losing access to these
Yes.
things very shortly? And what is the plan to rebuild should we get the chance?
Yeah.
Those programs.
Well, there's several really good points in here. Carol, first of all, thank you for sharing. Thank you for trusting us with your story. And look, don't underestimate, you're hearing this, the power of story and what Beto's talking about, the time to fight now. There's going to be a real push, and I was saying this, that he gave you the history on this. The road to those authoritarian regimes is littered with people telling you you're overreacting. You're overreacting. You're not. You're not overreacting. So start with that. You're not overreacting. And then telling the stories that are real and that matter to people. We need to start using language better. Shame on any one of us again if we ever use the word entitlement when we're talking about these programs like Social Security. They are not entitlement programs. We pay into them. They return money back to us. And we have made a decision in our society that you can't do it all yourself. You know, these people, they're all apparently self-made men. You know, they did it themselves. They had no one else help them. They built all their own damn roads. They built all their own water treatment plants. They did anything. And then they want to say anything you do as community is socialism. Well, the fact is we have determined, and this is what we need to call them on. That's why your congressman should be standing here and listening to Carol and say, why was he okay when he answered a question coming out from the press when they said, are you okay with the cuts to Medicare and Medicaid? And he said, yeah, I'm fine. I'm fine with them. What that means is he is making a determination that we long ago agreed that we're kind of in this together. And but by the grace of God goes each and every one of us. And the money that we put in makes sure that each one of us gets those services we need. And we are not doing a good enough job of telling the stories of why they matter to each and every one of us. Again, if you're a billionaire, you don't give one shit if you get a Social Security check, because you don't need one. It's the same thing. It's the same thing when they complain about property taxes, and then local small communities don't have any money, so they can't have a local swimming pool that's a municipal swimming pool. Well, if you've got one in your backyard, you don't give a damn about the municipal swimming pool. This whole thing about selfishness and about, again, if you're talking about school vouchers, that is a tax giveaway to the wealthy who are already getting it. Talk about nothing else. Doesn't do anything else. So we as Democrats have to use our language better. We have to tell the stories of why this impacts people. And then we have to make the case, by the way, for our economic growth. Okay, they're complaining that we're spending money on early childhood education. For every dollar you spend on early childhood education, you get $12 back into the economy. $12 back. For everything that we teach a child, like Carol's child or my child, that they're able to be more self-sufficient when they get out of school, they're able to then pay their taxes and be part of society. Not only do they live a high-quality life, it makes things work better. And we've allowed them to make this pitch that it's about the wealthy are creating all these jobs and we can't tax them or whatever. I'm just saying this, maybe you knew this. He's brighter than I am. He might have known this. When I got to Congress, I went through my first year. You go in there and they give you, they do that in-processing briefing, and they said, well, you're gonna have to recognize many of you are gonna take a pay cut. And I'm sitting there as a public school teacher saying, my God, this is 4 times more money than I've ever seen. But I got to August and my check went up. And I looked at my pay stub and I said, why am I getting more money on this? And I said, oh, they made a mistake. They're not taking out Social Security anymore. So I went to the payroll office and I said, you made a mistake. And they said, they're looking at me like, you're a congressman. You should know this shit. They said, there's a cap on Social Security and you don't pay it after you make that much. And I'm like, well, that's a ripoff. Why is that the case? If anybody tells you Social Security's in trouble, it's a very simple fix. Just have everybody pay Social Security on the money they make. That's all you have to do. Very simple. All of us do. We all do. Did you know that there was a cap? There's a cap. Yeah, they're stealing your money. We got to do better. Remember they did the whole defund police thing, which of course we were not doing? They're defunding America, and they're really doing it. They're defunding not just the police, they're defunding Social Security, they're defunding our schools, they're defunding defense, they're defunding the roads. We got to get better at our messaging. If we're fighting the way they're defunding our libraries.
Yeah, got it. All right, let's get, I'm going to try to get as many people in the time that we have left. Let's get Marley Rivera from Missouri City. Do I have Marley?
I'll go faster.
No, you're
God, I remember now what was hard about Houston. It's hot as hell in Houston. So, and it's just, I'm like a snowman. I'm like melting, like a snowman.
We're going to go to Amber. We're going to go to Amber Fannin. Amber, here you go.
Amber, welcome.
Thank you. Hello, how are you? Thank you both for coming out here. I just want to say it's surreal. I watched you at the DNC as a national delegate, and now I'm standing here and talking to you today. It's amazing. Little background about myself. I am from Harris County. I'm a VDR. As a VDR, I started in Jefferson County, which is rural Texas. I went to Lamar University, go Cards. And so this is my question for you all. How does the party plan to return to its roots of advocating for working class? In Texas, rural communities have been largely neglected. What is the plan to engage and support them besides the town halls that we're having today?
Yeah, no, that's right.
Thank you. Good job.
Well, again, the National Party serves a purpose, but that's not the leadership. They're not going to come save us, but they do have the resources. And we were talking about this earlier. When we fight these 7 swing state presidential elections, no money goes to the other states, which means there's no money for the local party, there's no money for the local congressional candidate, there's no money for the local school board member, whatever it would be. We bled them dry, and over the years, Republicans went out and won all of these local seats. They won all of this, and they invested. So I said, look, they always say it's not always about the money. Sometimes it sure is. And we need to make sure that we're funding our parties in our states. We need to make sure that local control and decisions are being made, and that we're supporting them in the ways that we think, that they think, the local folks did, that we can win these elections. And I think, again, Beto's been talking about it all night. He's got me believing as I think about this. We have got to somehow figure out why 80 million Americans stayed home. Many of them middle-class folks who thought that Donald Trump and Elon Musk and the rest of this circus was going to be better for them. How did that happen? And then figure out listening to local folks and saying, here's how we can win here. If we don't believe we can, look, in many of these places, my congressional district, when I won my congressional district by 30 points in 2008, in 2016, Donald Trump won that district by 18 points, just that amount of time. So I would say to all of you is, don't write these places off. Don't write any corner of America off, any congressional district. Give them the resources. Help train the candidates. Do things like Powered by People that get people engaged, and just decide. I'm going to do Beto's. I worry about this, that we should all, I mean, me especially. I'm going to be sitting on my porch in a rocking chair, and they're going to say, what did you do to fight for the democracy? It better be everything we could do. And I think each and every one of us want to be in this fight. We've got to provide the avenues where that fight is. And I don't think the Democratic Party, as it's structured right now, maybe does that. Just by the way, we are not Democrats in Minnesota. We form two parties. We are Democrats, Farmer, Labor Party. And I think that gets a little closer to where we should be, a little bit, a little closer on the labor. So,
Yeah. How many of you have been to Dalhart, Texas? I don't believe you, but that's more people than live in Dalhart, Texas are raising their hands. Team, it's at the very top of the panhandle. It is so red, you can see it glowing from outer space when you're orbiting Earth.
it's like a 95% Trump.
It's very Republican. But to Tim's point, I don't give credit to the Republican Party so much, nor do I blame the people of Dalhart, but it's Democrats who frankly, present company excluded, stopped showing up and fighting for the people that they purported to serve and represent. Let's be honest with ourselves. For too long, if you were black, if you were brown, Democrats said, you know what, I already got their votes.
Yeah.
It's in the bank. I'm not going to show up and listen to them. I could care less. If you're white and you're rural, you know what, we're never going to win there. Right, in 2018, tried to do it again in 22. And I said, hey, I was calling when we were having the wildfires up there. Is everybody okay? Tell me how you guys are doing. And then we started talking politics. I said, what are folks talking about in Dalhart? Check this out. Number one issue, public ed. He said, our public schools, that's the economic lifeline. It's the largest employer in Dalhart, Texas. It's the source of pride. Friday night lights, right? That is Dalhart, Texas. And the governor, the Republican governor, wants to drain whatever resources we have and send them to the rich kids in Dallas. People are pissed off. Issue number two, we're a rail hub here in Dalhart. Union jobs are really important. There is no one standing up for organized labor in Dalhart, Texas. So folks are pissed about that. Third issue, immigration. It's not a negative one in Dalhart. We're an agricultural community, and folks travel thousands of miles for the privilege of picking our food and making sure that our local economy is working. To Tim's point, not a single Democrat on the ballot to make the case about fair wages and labor and public education and an immigration policy that means that if you want to come to this country, we're going to make sure that it's safe, that it's fair, that it's legal, that it's orderly, that you play by the rules and America benefits from it. We have to fight on every front, in every district, in every single part of this state. That's the
point. Good question.
Okay, we're coming up, and Tim, if you have time, we've got one more submitted question, and then I asked Aisha, so no pressure, to pick someone from the audience that's raising their hand.
We'll just try and go. I think, Beto, if I could, on some of it.
Yeah.
If folks just want to, maybe not even a question, just say, here's what you should be doing, here's what I think. Just fast, we can get through more people.
Let's do this. We've got one more prepared that someone submitted. It's James Michael Robinson. That's the last one, and then we're going to follow Tim's lead on this. You have James Michael Robinson? Here we go. I'm going to give you the mic.
You're pretty happy about that win, aren't you?
Thank you for coming here tonight, gentlemen. As a retiree, as a veteran, as a recent I'm now on Social Security for the first time, and about to go on Medicare. I've been very concerned, but I want to say tonight, for the first time since November, there's a glimmer of hope. But what I want to ask you, I really inspired what I hear tonight, but why aren't our Democratic leadership being more aggressive about fighting this crisis, existential crisis for this country?
Yeah, well, thank you for all that. I only got a couple more years. How is it to get that Social Security? I used to say this as a teacher. Teachers know this. I worked my ass off because I wanted those kids to get the best education and go out and achieve their dreams, but I'm a little selfish. I wanted them to get a good job, pay their taxes, so I can collect Social Security and retire. That's how it works, so I'm happy you're on it. Look, Beto and I are asking this. When this started to happen, I heard that primal scream of do something. I called a few people up. I called him. I talked to Bernie Sanders, who's working his ass off to do some things. AOC. Yeah. And we get to decide what the party looks like. We get to decide what the future looks like. And I don't have the answer. Look, I know where my place is. I got an 18-year-old, Gus, and I'm without Gus out there. And I'm having one of those dad talks with him. I was giving Gus my wisdom on what he had done wrong. You know, I was being, because I know these things, right? I'm the dad. In the middle of it, he gives me the old, says the guy who got his ass kicked by Donald Trump. And I'm like, okay. But look, we need to acknowledge what happened. What I said and what we're saying here is we need to go out and listen to people. Look at people are telling you what you need to do. People are standing up and saying this is what is important to us. People are saying this is why I don't think the Democrats are winning and you should do this. We need to be capturing this. And why? Here's what I think happens. Beto was there. I was in Congress for 12 years, and we said that we were proud to be there. Both of us said we'd rather eat glass than be there now, so that's true. But I do think there becomes this comfort thing, and I'm watching it with these Republicans. They're apparently afraid of being primaried or whatever. How would you want that job so bad that you could lose all your dignity and just say that? I thought for sure, I won a congressional race in 2010 after I voted for the ACA because I figured I was going to lose. And I said, well, hell, I'll go back to teaching school because I'm going to vote to expand health care. And at the time in 2010, I thought the ACA was going to be the thing that fixed all. Let's all be very candid. Let's not just keep working on fixing the ACA. Let's get universal health care for everyone and get a better job. But I won that race with 47% of the vote. Third-party candidate, drained off boats, who I became best friends with, thank God, type of thing. But look, I think people get fat and happy a little bit. I'm not going to criticize and their strategy in this. Look, we all know a government shutdown would have been painful. But this isn't painful? This is painful, and it's going to get worse. So I would just say, I'm not going to criticize, but what I would say is, the folks who are willing what Beto's saying, let's just vote people in who are going to fight their ass off. Let's just vote they're going to go, and let's just win these elections.
Yeah. The arguments that Schumer was making he first told us he was going to fight this thing and stick with Democrats, every single Democrat in the House except for one stood together because they understood that unity was the only leverage that we have at this moment of truth, at this unparalleled crisis, at least in our lifetimes as Americans. Chuck Schumer said he was going to stick with him. And then for some reason, he capitulates, he caves, and he surrenders. And listen, if it were normal times, and any time before now is normal by comparison, right? When Tim and I voted against every government shutdown. Ted Cruz shut down the government in 2013 and 2014 because he wanted to take away health care. Of course I voted against that. How stupid, how dumb, how destructive to our country. If these were normal times, okay, maybe I get the logic from Schumer.
That's it.
But to the governor's point, this is literally the crisis, not of our generation, but the crisis since the Civil War tore this country apart. And if we are found wanting in the breach at this moment, we will lose what Abraham Lincoln called the last best hope of earth forever. So no more playing nice. In my opinion, just mine alone, Chuck Schumer needs to step aside, resign, get out of the way. We need fighters in positions of power who are going to carry the battle. Fight the fight. All right, let's go popcorn. Real quick, one point of privilege. You wonder whether you have power as a single American, a citizen, a member of this community. Some of you know the next person who's going to approach this stage. I got to know her very well when she lost her extraordinarily beautiful daughter in the Santa Fe High School shooting nearly 7 years ago. If anyone would have had an excuse to drop out and not show their face again or be involved in the politics that so badly failed her and her child and too many other kids in a state that leads the nation in school shootings, it would be this young woman that you're about to hear about. But not only did she stay in the fight, she worked on legislation. She got it passed on safe gun storage, which is one of the things that Tim Walz is working on and talking about. Rhonda Hope is the woman who got it done. Ladies and gentlemen, here's the mic.
Thank you, Beto. So as Beto said, my daughter died under Donald Trump's watch in 2018, and there was no way in hell that I was going to vote for him again. But as a gun violence survivor, I was watching the debates and watching your messaging, watching all Democrat messaging under a microscope, and I need it to be stronger. I need to hear the words ban AR-15. If anybody sees my blue Jeep out there with my custom plates that say ban AR-15, that's me. So I'm speaking on behalf of the Uvalde families and the Santa Fe families. We need stronger messaging from Democrats across the nation on ending gun violence. It's the #1 killer of children across the country. Thank you.
We'll do this. We can do it pretty orderly. 4th grade teachers, some of you are here. We'll do this. We got folks who are waiting. Let's just pop around. We'll have folks. We'll kind of point. Then just tell us, like you heard this. People are saying what they want to see happen. So go ahead, ladies. Yep. Yeah, I'll repeat the question. High school teacher. They can do whatever the hell they want because they're already in heaven. They already get in. So what do you have? Yeah.
Thanks, Coach. All right. So thank you, Beto, for organizing this, for being here. I've been volunteering for your campaign since 2018.
Yay. You know, I don't know a lot, but I know how to be a governor. He would be a great governor, just so you know. He'd be a great governor. Yes. Yeah.
And Mr. Walz, I have to say, you're on my bucket list of 2 Minnesotans to meet, you and Sharon McMahon.
Oh, she's the best.
Governors!
I will tell you.
But I don't know how to look at my students' faces and explain to them checks and balances, how the government worked, and say, but kidding, not right now. It's kind of demoralizing. I feel like I'm doing the work. I helped organize a bipartisan PAC for our school board to try to get vouchers out of our school board.
Wow.
I'm on the ground, I'm doing it, but I walk in to my state representative's office. He has a helmet for my high school sitting on his wall, but he won't talk to me. Our congressman...
Take his job.
What do...
Yes.
I don't know what we're supposed to do. Like, we're fired up, we're here, we want it, clearly, but I don't know what's next. I feel like I'm trying to do the from the bottom up grassroots, and it's not working. and we still don't have funding for students. We're accessing teachers because they increase the class ratio because they won't release funding. What do we do?
Yeah. Look, we're not going to, I wish I had the answer to it on it, but I think what we understand is this is happening across the country. There is a unified voice no matter what state you're in. The trick that we're going to have to figure out is to organize differently, powered by people, other organizations are out there. The Democratic Party's not going to come in and save it. We should be there to help facilitate some of this. So thanks for what you're doing. Sir, yeah. 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 Can you get a mic?
I'm so tired of seeing a bulldozer wreck what we have. I never thought at this age I'd be dealing with these criminals in office.
Amen.
And I think strategizing about what we're going to do as Democrats or as citizens at the most is an important thing. But my God, we need a boycott. We need more than this. We need a national boycott. We need to walk.
I'm with this guy. I'm with this guy on the national strike.
I've had enough of this stuff.
The Europeans know how to do it.
This has been nothing but it's normalizing. The media does nothing. I've been watching Cliff Catt, a comedian, standing up to what's going on. I appreciate what you two have done. Tim, it's been great seeing you. It's just great being here. And Beto, I've seen you and how close you came to being governor.
Yeah.
Wonderful. But with a bulldozer taking this apart now, we can't be sitting here strategizing of what can be, but what is right now. We need to get in the streets.
Yeah.
Somebody needs to say it.
Yeah.
Somebody needs to say it.
Well, yes.
The Democrats have been way too weak. They've been way too weak. Thank you.
Yeah. I love it. Yeah. There is a national day of action. It is planned for April 5th. There are more than 500 events organized around the country. You can go to the website handsoff2025.com. You can sign up for the nearest one here. If there's not one in your neighborhood, we expect you to start the one in your neighborhood and make sure everyone's organized. April 5, Hands Off 2025. Don't wait for some leader who's elected. Just lead like you're doing. Just go. Just go.
Yeah. Oh, you got one right here. Right here.
All right. Hi, thanks so much for coming. My name's Eric. I am a founding board member of Trans Rollers United, a completely trans and non-binary roller derby team. If anybody's interested in roller derby, they play in that building over there. But I've been unemployed since June of last year. And I've applied to 800 different jobs in the last 9 months. And with the executive order on gender in the workplace, it's been really difficult to try and decide. So I'm a social media manager, so my life is out there, by the way.
Get us in. There we go. Hey, well, look, it's cold in Minnesota. But we have protections and we're a sanctuary state for folks, so they are. So just so you know.
I've seen your Facebook ads telling us to move to Minnesota.
That's correct. The cold isn't bad. You didn't. But it's overblowing.
Trying to.
Yeah. Well, look, this. You see it, that they try and demonize. They try and take a segment of our population. Let's be very clear here. What the trans community is asking for is simple, basic human rights, and that's a very simple thing. It's a very simple thing. And when when we start negotiating that is when we get into trouble. And so I think the biggest thing is that the states are going to be the protections on this now. I'm sorry for that, and I didn't come down here to poach teachers and things like that, but I've been telling our biggest companies or whatever, why would you locate into states where women are criminalized for their own health care, why somebody's identity is that? At some point, like this gentleman, we need to make them pay with their money. We need to make them pay economically. So I would just say, this is going to be a rough row. I think for all the rest of us, to be clear on this, just be standing up. And I go back to what I said in the beginning. If you're not for freedom for everyone, then you're for privilege. And why do we let them define rights like a pie? If somebody gets a slice of that pie of freedom, you don't lose some because they're not a goddamn pie. They're human rights, and it's not that hard. So keep fighting. All right. Got one? You guys ready? We got veterans. Yes, sir. Yay. There we go. I think, call that guy. There he's in. This is how it works. This is how it works. What are they offering your neighbors that we can't refute and give them something better and get out in that space? We got some other people. Yes, ma'am. Yeah. All right, everybody, let's give it one. Quiet. Give them your website or where they can contact you. People are watching. Yes. Good. Thank you. That's what we can do. We can run for office. You got some folks? You over here?
Governor, Congressman, thank you for joining. Town halls are great. This is a tough one, and you guys have brought up Elon Musk. Nature abhors a vacuum, and we've kind of gotten here over the last 20 years because of the rising deficit, the rise of debt.
Yeah.
Revenues are up 50% over the last 10 years. Spending's up 90%.
Yeah.
80% of the budget comes from Social Security, Medicaid, Medicare, the defense, and interest on the debt. It's a hard decision. What are you actually planning on doing to fix that? Because we're going to all be in a very bad situation in 20 years.
I actually fall into this space. Well, this question that he had, I fell as a deficit hawk in Congress. I went to Congress and said I would not take a pay raise until we balanced the budget. I never got a pay raise. But making the case on this, here's the issue. States are required to balance their budgets. States are able to do this. The issue that we're going to have on this is that they've got us into the position on Social Security. I would make the case one of the biggest fixes to that long-term debt is to just raise that cap on Social Security benefits. That's one that's there. Let's have a conversation, and just to be clear, cutting USAID is going to mean we're going to have to spend more on weapons because we're weakening our soft power. We're weakening our ability across the country, more strategic. And I do agree, I am in this camp. If we as Democrats ignore long-term debt, if we ignore inefficiencies in government, we end up buying them. You can be progressive and ask for agencies to deliver and then hold them accountable and deliver the services. Because when we don't, we get in a situation like this that our neighbors think what Musk is doing is actually saving money. He's not. So I think asking this hard question of ourselves, I know in Minnesota, we simply balance the budget. I've had to make hard decisions. We've had to pull back on some of the spending in areas that I care deeply about. But we have a rule that what we will do is we will protect the most vulnerable first, and we will protect the gains that we've made. And that's the way that we should approach it nationally. All right. Well, go clear to the back. Yeah, go to the back. Freedom of speech. Don't get measles. Do not get measles. That's what we want. Gentleman in the back, clear in the back. Yeah. Yeah, you can holler right here. We're just trying to go fast. You want to get that? We don't have, so you know, given that. Yeah, thanks for sticking up for us.
Yeah, so, great question. You know, the state takeover of a school district here in Houston, HISD, local control out the window. Of all of the thousands of school districts in the state of Texas, how did they pick this one, right? Maybe related to, of all the places that you would want to close down polling places, not only the fastest growing black and brown neighborhoods, but college campuses right now. What are you afraid of, those who are in positions of power? Why don't you trust the voters and taxpayers and parents and educators to make their own decisions? If you believe in freedom, to the governor's point, it is freedom and liberty and democracy for each and every single one of us. How do we fix this? There is no shortcut. First things first, let's get behind great school board candidates who serve as trustees on these institutions. Elections coming up soon. Second, we've got to register and talk to the voters who can make a difference in this election. If you want to be a VDR, not easy work, but you want to walk the talk, sign up with Powered by People, we will put you to work. And then third, we have got to win political power statewide in the state of Texas to protect public education, a woman's right to choose, raise the minimum wage, legalize marijuana once and for all, protect veterans who put their lives on the line. Only by winning elections can we get that done.
We legalize cannabis and the winners are better. I'll tell you that. She's got a better shirt on. Let me ask a question. Yeah, go. Yes.
Tammy Reed, school board.
Katie ISD.
Good. Yeah. You are on live to thousands of people. You know, there was a message in Minnesota. You know something that was super popular? In Minnesota, we passed a law that every child gets breakfast and lunch every single day for free. And here's your message. While these folks are banning books, we're banning hunger. So take it and run and make the case. So, we got a cavalry hat. We're going. Yeah. Yeah.
Rogelio, who is representing the 956 right now, RGV, says, what advice can we give him? He's running for school board. For all the school board trustees, folks running for
How many are running for office this year? Raise your hand if you're running for an office.
As many as you can. Good. Rogelio, you know why you're running, right? And so this is my free advice, worth what you paid for it. I would knock on every door of every likely voter. In a school board race in Texas, you can knock on every door of every voter. The turnout for school board races is 3%, 5%, 8%. It's not 50%. You can meet every likely voter. You show up and you do two things. One, you tell them why you're running and what you're going to do for them. Two, and I know you know this, Rogelio, you listen to them. You ask them, hey, what's important to you? My first race running for city council, knocking on my first door just next to Wrestler Canyon in El Paso. Hey, I'm Beto O'Rourke. I want to work on property taxes and make sure that public safety is a priority and that our parks are green. And the woman stops me. She says, that's wonderful. but I want you to save this canyon next to my house. Developers are going to build on it, so please save Rustler Canyon. Second door, I knock on it, I give her my spiel. She interrupts me. Hey, I want you to save Rustler Canyon. Third door I knock on, the woman answers. Hi, my name is Beto O'Rourke. I'm here to save Rustler Canyon. we won that city council race. Rogelio knock on every door, listen to and talk to every single voter.
That's fabulous. Let's do a couple more. Yes, ma'am. Right in the middle. Yeah. Yeah. The question is first responders, our firefighters, our public safety officials, and yeah, look, it's just like veterans. Republicans they'll stand in front of every veteran group they have, but when it comes time to stand behind them, they're not there. Beto and I were in Congress when we watched the Republicans try and take down the 9/11 first responder bills for the folks who received that. We need to hold it accountable in Minnesota. We need to make sure that I stand in front of them and tell them we're going to fund for them. The issues around first responders is really challenging now, something we passed in Minnesota, and I would encourage it nationally on this. We see an incredible amount of rare cancers amongst firefighters. I think all of us know why, because of where they're around. We don't make them go to court or argue that. If you get a rare cancer and you are a firefighter, it's presumed in the line of duty, and we pay. We pay you, your family, and everything else. Those are the things we have to do.
We have a 16-year-old.
Got it.
And it's 8 o'clock.
So thank you for coming here, Governor Walz. I'm a little nervous, sorry, but
we're glad you're here.
Thank you. So I'm not from the Fort Bend County area, but I saw you were having a town hall, and my mom's right there. She gave me the option to get signed out of school and come here or stay in school, and
that was a good choice. Teachers will sign off. They'll sign off.
So I wanted to. I'm a high school student. I'm a sophomore. I'm 16 years old. I'll be able to vote in the next midterm.
Yeah.
And the Democrats want to figure out how do we get the youth in politics. Well, I have a suggestion. If we think back to December right after the election, our excellent representative, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, she was running against Jerry Connolly for the oversight chair, and Jerry Connolly won out of seniority. And if there's anything that pisses high schoolers off, it is seniority. That is so.
This is a good point.
So if we really want to get them active in politics, we really have got to stop with seniority and give it to the most deserving candidates.
Yeah, thank you. Beto, remember, I lost one of those races. I lost one of those races in Congress. But I eventually got the seat because the person who beat me went to federal prison. Remember that? True story. True story. So, look, not only can you vote next time, you could also run here at some point, too. So come up, let's take a picture. Let's take a selfie. Come up here. Yeah.
Nice to meet you. Yeah, thanks for coming. She wants to ask a question about women's rights in Texas.
Let's have it. Explain the shirt to me first, though. All right, there you go. Thank you. Wow. Yeah. Yeah. Well, look, I said this, and I thought it was the strongest pitch when we were trying to get votes at the end. I said, if for no other reason, vote for us so you don't have to see this guy on TV every goddamn day. And I want right now, and I've said this might be the most unsatisfactory I told you so political tour in the history of the world, but let's just all agree that Kamala Harris was probably the most qualified person to run for that office. And we're kidding ourselves. We are kidding ourselves if we don't think because we have a highly qualified and accomplished black woman running that that's why people voted the other way. So we'll stand up, stand for it. Thank you. Grateful. Grateful. Yeah, get us in here. I got a state I got to go govern. But I think we can stay a few more minutes. I know we had you here. You've been here a long time, but if you want to stay a little longer, let's go. Let's hear a few more folks. So, yes, ma'am. Over there.
How do we stop these assholes from taking this and turning this country into a Christian nationalist country?
Tax the church. Tax the church if they're going to talk. So. You're worried. There's a big deal here.
Yeah. You know, the governor may not know this, but there are no campaign finance rules in the state of Texas. The governor of the state of Texas can, and he did, take a $6 million check from one billionaire Christian nationalist donor, and you wonder why he has such a hard-on to privatize public education. And it is because of the money. Always follow the money. I said it earlier, these guys are crazy. They're very often criminal, and they are always corrupt to the core. That's where this stuff is coming from right now. Yeah. So we've got to fight back with these school board elections. We've got to win state representative seats. We've got to beat the governor. We're not going to do it if we start working in 2026. We've got to start working in March of 2025.
Hi, my name is Jennifer Branch. I'm from Orange, Texas. I drove 2 hours to be here because Dave Phelan is my representative and he does not represent me. My question is, and I think the majority of the people that are sitting around here will agree, when are they going to start impeachment process on Donald Trump?
So, listening to where you're from is great because I love this because you know that the news story on several of those stations is going to be, you were all bust in here. What are you going to do with your George Soros money, all of you? You're going to buy something new with that? Look, speak to them. Tell them what has to happen. And Democrats we can't do that. We can't do this. Look, there were opportunities after the 2020 election that folks should have moved and done things and did not. And now we got into this situation where we're at. We can't make that mistake again. And I said this, we're going to get back in power. And Donald Trump said he was going to be on a revenge tour. And I said this, they said, well, what are you going to do? I said, we are too. And you know what we're going to do? We're going to rain down health care on people. And we're going to rain down education on people. And we're going to do what people are asking us to do. But look, don't allow anyone to tell you anything that's happening now is normal. Don't allow anyone to tell you to calm down, that it's not as bad as you think. It is. But look, someone asked earlier, and I didn't answer the question. I'm not saying this is a silver lining, and the destruction they're doing, the bulldozer, as it was described, is happening. We need to make sure when we build back that we're building back to make sure that everyone is heard, and everyone is represented, and everyone is seen. Let's do one or two more. You call it. You got a few. You got some folks? Yeah. 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 Yeah.
Did a study in Texas from 2017 to 2022 that showed that legal immigrants are 46% less likely to commit a crime.
Yeah.
60% less likely, and even illegal immigrants were 40% less likely to commit a crime than native-born Texans.
True. Because we're bad at this.
Yeah. So this is the thing. You know, if you think that the elections are won on policy, do you think the crazy shit that Donald Trump said would have polled well, invading Greenland, taking over Panama, making Canada the 51st state of America, decimating Social Security, Medicare, and none of this shit is popular. The one thing that he showed is that he's crazy enough to believe what he's saying and to see it through. Democrats who support every popular issue in this country, including this one on immigration, have present company excluded. They've shrunk from every single fight in front. Oh shit, is immigration going to be on? Well, maybe I just won't talk about it and it will go away. Maybe I just won't visit the border and nobody will notice. Maybe I just won't do anything for the people who have come here and made America great by their very presence. Well, listen, we are going to stand up and fight for all of us, including the immigrants. El Paso, Texas, my hometown. One of, if not the safest cities in America, not despite, but because it is a city of immigrants who have chosen to make their stand in this country. Houston, Texas, the most diverse city in the United States of America. And we are so fucking proud of it. And we're going to lead. We are going to lead on these issues. Voters smell fear, they smell weakness, and they smelled it in our party when we didn't stand up and fight for the people that we believe in, the people that we historically served and protected, and did not have the courage of our convictions. No more, folks. I agree. The defining line as our party is you fight or you surrender. We are going to be a party to go in those spaces. We're going to do it. You want to go one? Yeah, go. We got to go. Catch a plane. We fight propaganda by telling the truth. That's the question here. When we don't fight it, let me just tell you one quick thing, point of privilege. When we don't fight it, and you have this guy in the highest position of power in the land, and he keeps talking about invasions, and he describes people as though they were animals, that's his word, as dumb beasts, and he treats them that way. He puts them in cages, like you would put a dog or a wild animal that you're about to put down, but it's a human fucking being. When he says this, when he's at a rally in Florida in 2019, he says, folks, what are we going to do about this invasion? And folks, at that rally, someone yells out, shoot them. And everybody laughs, and Donald Trump smiles. Months later, one of our fellow Texans drove with his AK-47 from Allen, Texas, 600 miles to El Paso, showed up in my hometown of August that year, walked into a Walmart in full battle gear, with hundreds of rounds and started shooting people. He told cops afterwards when he was arrested, he said, I came to kill Mexicans. I came to repel the invasion that I was warned about. That's not just on Donald Trump. That's not just on that terrorist who came in and killed all of those people in my hometown. That is, to your point, on each and every single one of us who did not stand up to be counted at our moment of truth for this county. So let us not make that same mistake again. We are going to fight for one another. We're going to do it every single day.
Yes. Hi, Beto. Hi, Coach Walz. My name is Maha. I am born and raised in Fort Bend, live in Sugar Land. Shout out my Sugar Land people. Lived here my whole life, and I am a first-generation Pakistani Muslim American. Thank you. I spent this entire election cycle running around my community trying to get as many people as I can to vote for you, to vote for Kamala, and one thing that was really difficult to overcome was Gaza. It is such a difficult situation, and it is so painful to our community. And yes, and I agree. What I wished we felt from your campaign was just emotional honesty. And when I talk to people and I explain to them that there is a difference between the two of you, there is. The running theme was, I can't feel that. Yeah. And so my question is, do you feel like the obsession of decorum was the downfall of the Democratic Party this election cycle? And how can you, as an elected official, convince your colleagues to be a little bit more emotionally honest? Also, Beto, you need to run for governor again.
Well, this is what Beto was just explaining. People understand that when you get caught in the middle and you try and message something instead of trying to just state where you're at, I've gone that issue for years. I did it as a congressman. I did it as someone who taught global culture studies. And look, when we left the city of Dearborn, basically so that Donald Trump could go there and speak, is it any surprise that people voted the other way? And I think if we're not learning from those lessons, and I said, I own all these, because I'll go back to this again, had we won that damn election, we wouldn't have to be having this. But I also would test you all on this. Do you think that had we won this election, that they wouldn't be in the streets? You don't think they would have been screaming about everything, that energy? You know it. You know it. So I hear you, acknowledge it, and I think if we fail to learn these lessons, it's going to get pretty dark. And again, not for candidates. It's going to get dark for the most vulnerable. So, all right. Sir, you've been waiting a while. Yeah. Oh, look into that.
Sure.
Why are you wearing a coat down here is what I want to know. So. You've been here a while.
Yeah, no, I think the one thing I want to say, there's so many issues.
Yeah. How's that? There you go.
There's so much going on. I don't know that we can wrap it all up. There's too many questions. I think what I'm asking from you guys as you're running is kind of, I forget your name, but Maha?
Yeah.
Being truthful, kind of wearing your heart on your sleeve, you've already done so. I think there's so many issues that are misunderstood in the Democrat, liberal, whatever parties. People are just confused. And coming from Minnesota, now living here, I agree with gun rights. I agree with people that shouldn't be here not being here. But there's a fine line. That doesn't mean everybody that has come to America is a threat.
Yeah.
And so I think addressing that and being really honest with that the next go-round is really, really important, so that there isn't confusion thinking, oh, we're all for having criminals here, or we want AK-47s and ARs. That's not the case.
Yeah, they're masterful at the messaging. I never saw anything in my life. Everyone here who's a veteran, and I don't care if you're Democrat, Republican, where you were at, there is not a single veteran in America who has any doubt whatsoever of how screwed up what happened with this text chain was and what they were doing. That is not even debatable. But look, they're going to weasel out of this, and we had to listen to the shit about Hillary's emails for 3 years. So I'm with Beto. Nobody's going to fix this for us. It's not going to be easy. It's not going to be over tomorrow. I would say buckle up and be in this thing for the long haul, because that's what it's going to take. So, you ready?
I'm gonna just do a quick housekeeping deal, and then we're gonna ask Governor Walz to make some closing remarks. First of all, I cannot thank you enough. I feel exactly the same way Tim does. This makes me far more hopeful right now than when I woke up this morning, to know that you would come out, that you would be in this fight, that we are in this moment of truth. I have faith that we're going to come through. I can't see the path. I don't know how long or how hard it will be, but I know the company with whom I travel, and we could not have picked better people to be here tonight for the long haul for this fight, so thank you. We are going to be tempted along the way to despair. As bad as it has been over the 3 months, let's be honest with ourselves. With both houses of Congress, with the Supreme Court, with all of the oligarchs, the billionaires, the tech bros, the White House itself, they have unparalleled power. We have never seen this before in American history. And we know from past practice who they are going to train their wrath on. It will be the most vulnerable. It'll be people right here in this community. It'll be people who in some cases will not be able to survive it. We have to be there for them and for one another. And we have to resist the temptation to despair. There are going to be days when you say, fuck it, I give up, I give in, I guess this thing's over, I'm just too tired to fight anymore. Remember this, action is the antidote to despair, and it is the key to victory. Run for office, knock on doors, meet with your neighbors, volunteer, go to that food bank that is struggling right now to staff all of those open positions. You show up at the airports when they're trying to deport people. The next immigrant student that they abduct at the University of Houston, like they just did at Tufts, like they just did at Columbia, they're going to do it here. You know it's only a matter of time, not if, but when. We stand up for her, and we make sure that those who are dragging her off are identified, that she is afforded due process, that we fight for her, and we keep her here because she's going to make this country better by her very presence. Do not give up. Do not give in. Do not go quietly into this darkness right now. Let us stand and fight. Are we doing pictures back here? After the governor's remarks, he has generously agreed to stay for a little while for anyone who would like to take a picture with him. I recommend you do it and get up here. So allow him to make these remarks, and then if we'd form a civil but fighting line right up here to get to the governor. He'll take a picture with you. So with that, Governor Walz, closing comments.
Well, you've been here. It's a long night. You got work tomorrow. Again, I'm going to say this on behalf of myself. Thank you. This is good for the soul. And I'm with Beto. Look, I'm an eternal optimist. I supervised that damn lunchroom for over a decade, and I'm optimistic. We as Minnesotans, we walk on water 6 months out of the year. We are optimistic people. But Beto's right. We're in the fight. It's going to be a long one. But we are folks here who have the resources to come out on a Thursday night, to spend time, to drive here. We've got folks who don't know who we are, who don't know who to trust, and their lives are being put at risk. This is noble work. Those who came before us did it. This is our time. So thank you all. Texas, you're the best. You're the best. Where are they going?